Be one of the best gospel stories we've heard, in a long time. Really, it's a great story, and it's so real. So what do you think Jesus is trying to tell us with this event in his life? So what do you think? What is he trying to tell you and others with this story? Don't be bashful. Forgiveness. Don't be a hypocrite, right? Yeah? How about this intellectual session over here? Right, Paul? You and your bride? Don't judge. Right. So think about that, because what I say may connect with you, and it may not. But the Lord wants to connect with you through this revealed Word of God. Are you calling attention to the woman or to the religious leaders? Or are you being called to identify with Jesus in the new life that he offers? Could be all three, huh? But you have to decide. Don't you find it interesting that the religious leaders were blinded by their self-righteousness, their knowledge of the law, of how to live as a faithful Jew? They were blinded by that, and blinded by their resentment towards Jesus. And using the law to enhance their own station, their own sense of worth, who they are in front of Jesus. So as one person said, we're dealing here with religious hypocrisy, which is very scary, because we can all be victims to that religious hypocrisy. Then you find it interesting that here they are, the Jewish leaders. They have no interest in the woman's well-being or her safety. Not an iota. They just use her as an instrument to attack Jesus. It's also a sign of their blindness. There was no compassion or understanding of her situation. What brought her to that? Was it a one-moment event, or was it a way of life? Don't forget, if a woman was not married, there was no means of support for her at all. Zero. It was a very patriotic system that everything depended upon the husband or your son. And if you didn't have either one of those, you were out in the street. That's where you were. More than likely without any compassion or interest in your well-being. So in Jesus, she encounters divine compassion and understanding to live a new way of life. To live a new way of life with loving care and support. That support is so important. Jesus promised to be with her. So again, what is Jesus telling us with how he encounters the religious hypocrisy of the leaders? What is he saying to you and to me about that? What are we to draw from Jesus' action? How does it connect with the way we live our life? Now, for example, among others, there are many people who are pro-birth, the birth of a child, yes, but not necessarily pro-life. Pro-birth, yes, but not pro-life. For example, if the child is born? What support is offered to that woman and that child? Are there programs that we support to help that woman in those circumstances? Or do we just say, well, sorry, you made that choice. Thank you for giving birth to that baby. Now you're on your own. And it seems that's the attitude of many people in the pro-life issue. They're pro-birth, but they're not going to support any governmental programs that address that afterwards, supporting the person who's in this situation. Is that hypocrisy? I recall this particular parish that are very pro-life. And so you know what they did? They bought a little house in the community to help women who were pregnant and had no support from their family. They were ostracized. They were out in the street. And they started a program of supporting them, and they lived with this in this family, in this house, for no expense at all. And they brought in programs to help them, to help the young ladies get their GED degree or to be trained in some vocation. That's pro-life, huh? That's pro-life. Helping people in circumstances. And not just saying, you have to do this, this is what you should do, as opposed to, I think the Lord wants me to help out this person, to support this particular cause. And you'll hear about that also on the Good Friday, where the church is against capital punishment. What does that do? Is that a real sense of justice for a family who've experienced the death or murder of a loved one? Does that really help the person's healing? There was another case of being very much a pro-life is a woman whose son was murdered by an individual and was sent to a nearby state penitentiary for life. And you know what she did? She started writing to him, letting him know that with God's grace, she forgives him. Are you kidding me? That's what she does. Now, is that pro-life? I certainly think so. And it really challenges us to go much deeper. What does it mean to be pro-life? It means I respect and enhance every person. And I support them, not just with my words or my vote, but with my presence, my resources, that I help them to the best of their ability. That's one of the messages I'm connecting with in light of the readings of religious hypocrisy. How we can say one thing, but don't do anything to lift that person's situation up. And that's something not only the Pharisees, but all of us have to be mindful of, huh? And seek God's grace to help us to be authentic in our relationship with the Lord and with other people who desperately need our support, our care, and our love.